What's up guys, Kyle here today, and today, I'm gonna say today a couple more times, we are checking out the Marshall DSL20H. Well, that was a rough intro. Let's do it! Hope you guys are doing awesome out there today. If this is your first time here at my channel, my name is Kyle. What I do is I take awesome high gain amplifiers, guitar cabinets, speakers, overdrives, and pickups. I record them through a simple SM57 setup, and I give you guys the unprocessed audio on your end. So if you're into East End or thrash riffs, drop C hardcore riffs, and dudes that are way too tired to be filming this video, you're in the right place. Consider hitting the like button and subscribing on your way out so you don't miss any more of my stuff. Thanks. Okay guys, so this video has been heavily requested by a couple of my viewers, one in particular who bugs me pretty much once a week for the past 2 or 3 months to get this done. I finally have some time to do it today, so I am actually really excited to get this video filmed and get it out of the way. So leave me alone, please. No, I'm just kidding. I love your guys' suggestions and I love it when you guys ask me to film certain amps. That lets me know what I need to be putting here on the channel. But anyways, I'm getting off topic already. The DSL20 is awesome. I'm just gonna tell you right here, spoiler alert in the very beginning of the video, this amp sounds incredible. I am a huge fan. I don't think that I am going to be selling this. I posted it up for sale along with a bunch of other amps during my big amp sale. Nobody has spoken for it yet, and as soon as I plugged back into it today, I was like, dude, I should just keep this because this is an awesome effort by Marshall to give you the classic DSL JCM 2000 tone in a smaller, more portable size, but yet you are not losing the fullness and the ability to really push the power section because this thing has full-sized EL34 power tubes in it. One of the downfalls of some of the Lunchbox sized heads or the more compact sized heads is they use EL84 power tubes, which they sound good until they really start to get pushed, and then those tubes saturate, they compress, they break up really early, and they just do not break up in a way that is pleasant for high gain sounds. They sound great in something like a Vox AC30, they give a good breakup there, or even like a PV Classic 30. When those tubes really get cooking, they sound great for a classic rock or a hard rock type breakup. They don't sound good for a metal breakup because when you are playing metal through a high gain amplifier such as this, you do not want the power section to break up. Contrary to what I read in a lot of the forums and a lot of the Facebook groups, you do not want power tube saturation to the point where they are compressing and breaking up on a metal amp. That completely defeats the design purpose of the majority of the power amps on these modern amps. They are designed to run really clean and not break up so that you get all of your distortion from the preamp as intended. I'm off topic again already. I guess it kind of applies, right? Because that's what we're talking about here on this amp. So anyways, Marshall has done a really good job, much like their Studio Classic series, the Studio Classic 800 and the Studio Vintage Plexi, whatever they call that one. Both are very, very good representations of the real deal. The big amps with the big transformers, they both have the bigger power tubes in them, and so does this thing. The only difference here is this is one of the more budget models. It's made in Vietnam, but I have not really heard of any reliability issues coming out of these things yet, and I keep a close eye on such things because Marshall does kind of have a bad track record for releasing amps that have issues. That have a lot of issues. They're known for needing to be repaired or having certain design flaw issues, and that runs through pretty much every series that Marshall has ever done. But anyways, I haven't heard anything about this one yet, so I'm hopeful that this thing lasts because I could definitely see pairing this with something like my Synergy amps SLO and the 30 watt Synergy power amp that I have, and getting just some really great tones out of some compact heads that, you know, I like to run a dual amp setup because it gives me a wider tone, filling in the gaps where one amp might be missing. And both of those amps come in at like less than 30 pounds, so to carry both of those around would be no issue at all. I'm already talking way too much. Let's get into the tones. That intro clip that you guys heard, I was using my Balaguer Typhon prototype with the Hypernova pickups, which is a modern ceramic high output pickup. We are going into the Metzebarba 4x12 that has become my new favorite cabinet. SM57 on the UK Vintage 30, and then up here on the boost board we were running my baby. It's finally back on the board. I took it off for some time to explore some different options, but I'm back home here. We've got the Duality Do-X. The Duality Do-X? No, it's not Do-Do. It's the best pedal ever made. The Duality DX here. I'm gonna turn that off. I'm gonna try to talk a lot less moving forward. We're gonna actually, believe it or not, we're gonna go over to the classic gain channel. This is essentially a clean channel that breaks up a little bit when you start to push it. So let's go ahead and hear how that sounds. All right, so that's enough of that clean crap. I shouldn't even put that in the video because we don't do cleans here. Here it is with the gain at 3/4 of the way, because it really does not start to break up until you really push the gain on this channel. Sounds pretty good to me. You're almost getting into that hard rock territory. I actually feel that the classic gain on this amp breaks up less than it does on the bigger DSLs, but it still sounds good. All right, and if we hit it with a boost, it sounds pretty good for a pushed Marshall kind of clean tone. Let's kick in another boost because I want to. Let's see how stacking boosts in front of this classic gain channel works, because typically that's how I would get a lot of gain out of my 800s. That actually sounds incredible to me. If you stack the right overdrives in front of this channel, you will definitely get that classic heavily boosted Marshall tone. It's got that upper mid Kerrang thing going on, so big fan of that immediately. I don't play a lot of stuff like that, but every now and then I like to kind of dick around with it a little bit. So we're gonna go over to the reason that most of the people who are viewing my channel are here, the lead channel, or the ultra gain channel. So I'm gonna turn that gain down to 9 o'clock here. We've got everything at noon to start. We're gonna keep the tone shift out. We're gonna keep the resonance at noon as well as the presence. That is one thing I did not touch on in the intro, guys. One of the reasons that I think that this amp is so awesome is it has a resonance control, whereas all the old DSLs have a deep switch, and when it was on, it was too boomy. When it was off, the amp was too thin. Marshall fixed that in the later DSL series. Once they did ship them to Vietnam and turn them into like a budget line, they added a resonance knob, and that has been there ever since, and I think that that was a great design idea on their part, and I'm really glad to see it here because it does make all the difference in the low-end response on these amps. So let's go ahead and hear how that ultra gain channel sounds with the gain at 9 o'clock. All right, so we are kind of picking up where this channel leaves off. A common complaint about the old DSLs is the Ultra channel was more compressed, and I do hear it is a little bit more compressed. It's not as open in the mids either, so I understand why a lot of people would kind of live on the green channel and just kind of boost the heck out of it like I just did to get their classic tones. We're kind of picking up where that channel leaves off, and the gain just becomes immediately much more available. So let's bump it up to 11 o'clock. So one thing I always say about amps is when the gain, all the controls are at noon, all the EQ controls, and it sounds good, that's usually a sign of a well-designed amp, because you want the amp to sound as close to neutral with all the gains at noon, all the controls at noon as possible, and that lets you know that you've got a big sweep on either side of that pot in order to get the tone where you need it to be. So here, I think the only thing I personally want to do is dial the treble back just a little bit and maybe dial the bass up just a little bit. And immediately, I think that sounds incredible. You have to do very little work to make this amp sound good. So let's go ahead and pump that gain even more. We're going up to 1 o'clock on the dial. All right, so we are pretty heavy in the low end already, to be honest. I'm gonna bump that presence up to kind of make up for some of that treble being rolled off. And that gives us a little bit more of a modern EQ because we've got a lot of top end presence going with the treble rolled back, and that's kind of what helps to thicken the overall tone stack on this and many other Marshall amps up is by dialing the treble back a little bit and using the presence to compensate on the highs. Again, I immediately think that sounds great. Let's get some more mids on this baby. Now we're talking. Sounds awesome to me, guys. It needs a little more saturation though. Let's go ahead and push that gain up to 3 o'clock, and I've got some noise coming through the speakers on this thing, so that tells me that we're gonna get a lot of saturation. That sounds really good. Let's dial the bass back just a tad, dial the treble up just a tad. What if we are to reverse things? Let's dial the mids back and the treble up. Oh, that is like old Metallica all day. Super cool, a little bit too bassy and boomy for my taste. We're gonna roll that low end back and the presence back a little bit. Messed that up pretty quick. But anyways, you guys get the picture. It does sound good with the mids rolled back. It definitely gives a little bit more of that classic thrash tone thing. We've got the gain almost all the way up. Let's go ahead and push it just to see what it sounds like. Again, it's a very like And Justice for All type of tone. Really pushed or relaxed in the mids. A lot of kind of high-end sizzle and a lot of low-mid aggression, I guess, because we have the gain cranked all the way. So if we were to roll that gain back and we were to kick on an Ibanez TS9, which is a common boost, let's see how that would make a difference. I gotta say, I immediately like that better because it compresses the low end, makes it punchier. It's not as muddy or tubby in the low mids. It's just a more balanced tone to me. right, I'm getting carried away. If you guys can't tell, I really like what I'm getting out of the speakers right now. I think it sounds really, really good. I'm gonna do a little bit more traditional tone for me by dialing up those mids, pulling those trebles back. The trebles, I keep saying trebles and I wanna punch myself for it. All right, so this is basically a type of tone that I would go for my band Bushido Code. It's more of a little bit like a modern thrash tone. It's got some low-end resonance. We are definitely moving some air with the speakers as it is right now, so here's a Bushido Code riff. Forgot how my own song ends. That was the wrong note. It sounds really good. I'm having a lot of fun if you can't tell. This amp sounds freaking fantastic. So one thing that we have not done yet, we have not hit the tone shift switch. I hate the tone shift switch. I think it is Marshall's attempt. It was Marshall's attempt in the late 90s and early 2000s to kind of cater their amps toward the new metal crowd. They were playing a lot of dual rectifiers and stuff like that. More modern, more lows and low mids. The tone shift takes a lot of the mids out. It pumps the bass up quite a bit. And it's just not the Marshall sound in my opinion. So here it is with the tone shift in. As you can tell, it's a little bit more muffled. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the treble back up. I'm gonna add some presence to kind of get rid of that muffled sound. But yeah, honestly, that's not too far off from the red channel of a rectifier, but it still has that Marshall tightness to it. It's not my favorite tone, but it sounds, you know, it doesn't sound bad either. Definitely good for that early 2000s hardcore thing if you're into that. I am very into that. So it doesn't sound bad. Again, not my ideal tone, but it definitely works on this amp. So let's go ahead, let's get rid of that tone shift. Oh, that's so much more aggressive and angry in my opinion. So I'm gonna leave it right there. We're gonna go into drop C. We are now in drop C. I have touched none of the settings. Let's hear how it sounds. All right, so that is drop C. The amp sounds really good to me, guys. Even in drop C, the low end is staying together pretty well. I have it pretty loud here in the room. I fear if I push it too much more, we will start to get some compression from the power tubes. But you know what? People are always complaining that I don't play these amps on reasonable volumes. I play them loud, like loud enough to sit in a band mix. But you know what? You guys want me to push it and blow my eardrums out? Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so that was the amp truly pushed. It did get a good bit louder in the room, but it honestly started to compress pretty quickly. Also, the tone really started to break up. You were getting some power amp distortion there and really rounded mids because it was compressing the lows and highs. And like I said, high gain amps just do not sound good when you're trying to overly saturate the power amp. So there, I did it. Everybody shut up. Leave me alone. Just kidding. All right, so that was pretty much everything. I'm gonna grab a guitar with active pickups, see how the amp reacts to active pickups, make a little bit more noise, and we'll call it a day here. All right, guys, I have my EC1001T here with the EMG 5766 set. All right, I don't like that as much as the other guitar, but naturally I'm not a huge fan of active pickups. Back to E standard. Ooh, that is like a classic, oh, that is a classic thrash metal tone right there. That sounds really good. All right, last riff, guys. That is gonna do it for me today on the Marshall DSL20. What did you guys think on your end? I think it's pretty obvious that I really dug it, but I wanna know what you guys think. If you have played or own this amp, or you're just listening to this video, put it down below in the comments and I'll meet you guys down there to talk about it. As always, in the description of this video are my Sweetwater affiliate links, my Patreon membership page, and the Belligerent Amateur community, my Discord server, my Facebook group. My mouth is filling up with spit, so I can't talk anymore. But if you want to support the channel, go down there and join any of those that you can. I would greatly appreciate it, and I would love to have you around. If you like the video and you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button on the way out. It helps me greatly. Thank you so much for watching. Kyle here again, and I'm gonna go rip some more riffs on this thing. Bye!